What is going on, my broskies? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So today's video, we are going to be playing through the brand new treasure map against Akainu and Fujitora. Now, obviously, the treasure map has been out for quite a while now. However, obviously, with unfortunate events that have happened recently, as well as there being New Year's, I've been extremely busy and unable to record this video for you guys. But finally, able to bring you guys a playthrough video of this treasure map. So for those of you who have not been sticking around to the streams, I've done 2 streams so far of the treasure map. You probably don't know what teams I'm going to be using. The teams that I made in that my teams video are essentially the same teams I'll be using in this video, but it'll give you guys a little bit more of a rundown as to what to expect and how to use them and such. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the brand new exchange character that has arrived on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global, being Gump the Fist. I've had a lot of questions pertaining to this character and, whether or not he's worth spending your tickets on. He is very expensive to completely max out, but let's go ahead and talk about the character first, and we'll talk about how you go about maxing him out. But he is a pretty decent unit. So he is a Dex fighter powerhouse. His captain ability is a 2.5 attack and 1.2 times health to all characters. Strength and Dex slots are beneficial for your entire team as well. And if he becomes your captain in the middle of an adventure, he becomes a 4 times captain, as well as the HP boost, the beneficial slot. So he's pretty good. He's pretty good. Now, his special ability is also very powerful. So it's multi-staged. We'll talk about his second stage because that's the best special. 200 times his attack and dex damage to a single enemy. If your captain is either fighter or powerhouse, he reduces the cooldowns of fighter and powerhouse characters by 2 turns, and will also reduce all enemies' barriers and damage nullification by 3 turns, and he becomes your captain for 2 turns. Pretty good unit because you can use this to avoid enemy effects that will change your captains. Removing 3 turns of barrier and 3 turns of damage nullification is phenomenal. But obviously the problem is trying to max this character out. So it's 2,000 tickets to get a copy of him. So I would suggest pick up at least 1 copy of this unit. He is a 1.35 point booster in the current treasure map. But you need 30 of these limit break crystals. You need 30 of these crystals that cost 6,000 tickets. So I believe it's 180,000. To max his limit break. So I can actually go ahead and show you guys right now this GARP. I have not purchased any of the limit break crystals yet. I'm probably going to wait until I can fully max him out, unless I need him for a specific piece of content. But when we go ahead and have a look here, you do need 30 of those crystals. But obviously when you go ahead and do that, you get a lot of special charge time reduction. He goes to 5 sockets, gets additional stats, gets crewmate abilities, and he just becomes an all-round powerful unit. But as this base form, he is pretty weak. His stats are very bad, his cooldown is very high, and obviously you won't have any sockets really. So unfortunately, he does take a lot of materials to max out, but once you have him fully maxed out, he is very powerful. And as I was saying, he is a good unit, but there aren't too many specific pieces of content where you directly need that GARP character in order to clear it. So I would say, pick up 1 copy of the unit, but don't worry about the limit break crystals just yet. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So as you guys can tell right now, I am already at, past the 7 million point threshold. So I've already used all my tickets and I've recorded them all, so you guys will be seeing that later. Obviously, I've already pulled every single legend in the game, so I don't need any of those legend tickets. And I mean, to be fair, the legends that I did pull were not very good, so it's not like anyone would really want them. So, it is what it is. But anyways, let's get into this and start talking about the treasure map. So, of course, we do have the global exclusive intrusion battle this time around, because on JP, this treasure map did not have an intrusion battle. So for this treasure map, Kizaru is the boss, and like all other global exclusive intrusion battles, he's pretty easy. He is very, very easy to take down. A lot of these bosses I feel like are actually relatively straightforward, but there is one boss in particular that I think a lot of people might struggle with, and we'll get to that once we talk about the boss. But what should we do here? We'll have to see what we roll here. Hopefully we can roll something good. Roll a 5. Okay, that's pretty good. We could get some points, or we could go for... Alright, let's go ahead and just fight Doberman straight off the bat. Let's fight Doberman straight off the bat, and then we're going to go ahead and lead into the fight against the intrusion battle Kizaru. So the team I am using against Doberman is a double V2 Boa team. This team is probably the most optimal team to clear it with. I mean, there are probably some other units you could put in for point optimization, but I think overall this is probably the most efficient team to go ahead and clear it. Might take a little bit of time to load all this stuff up, so I'll see you guys towards the boss stage. Okay, so now we've cleared stage 6, we can move on to the final boss fight now against Doberman. Doberman is an int character. He has, I think it's 16 hit combo barrier, 16 hit combo barrier. He'll change all of your slots to tandem, and then he does one of 2 different bind effects. So there's this one here where you could potentially get one character on your top or bottom row will be binded for 11 turns, or 3 different units on the top or bottom row will be binded for 7 turns each. This is where the brand new rare recruit Bonnie is very, very good for that. But first we're going to use the ambush Shanks first, because he'll go ahead and give us an orb boost to our free spirit characters, as well as making the tandem orbs beneficial. Then we can go ahead and use the Bonnie. The Bonnie is fantastic because with her special ability, you can get rid of any of the bind effects that Doberman will place on your crew. Now, this is not the only way around this. You could definitely use another character like Ambush Lin and some other characters that remove bind. But with Bonnie, you only have to really rely on one character to remove all the bind on your team, which is really useful to have. And then V2 is definitely the most recommended unit as the captain here, because with both of the specials that you can use, you can remove all turns of his barrier. Well, not really all turns, but you can remove all combo hits off of his barrier. Even just with one special, he goes down to a 4-hit combo, and then you can basically 2-tap him very, very simply. Boom, there we go. Quite simple right there. The bottom units that we have is Legend Sabo V1, as well as the Colosseum Ace. Completely replaceable characters. I mean, V2 is the most important unit, as well as the Bonnie. I mean, Ambush Shanks, you don't even need him. Like, we just have him just for the orb boost and beneficial orbs, but again, very, very replaceable. He's not a very difficult boss overall. But now that we've taken down the Doberman boss, we do have to fight the ambush quest straight off the bat against Kizaru. So Kizaru, once again, as I said, being a global exclusive intrusion battle, he is going to be relatively simple. He really doesn't do that much. The team I am relying on is basically the highest point booster team that I can possibly build. If we can find a Kaido friend captain, that would be kind of good. Now, we do have some Kaidos here. Obviously, with the whole glitch that has happened, a lot of people will have these treasure map rare recruit characters. If you guys did pull on the treasure map, or if you guys have summoned for characters on those Sugo Fests with the glitched gems, I really wouldn't suggest using them on your team, because, I mean, according to the Bandai post, they say not to do that. But either way, we do have some friend captains up here, so we will be using a Kaido friend captain. I'm not really too sure if this is, like, you know, against what they're saying. If you're not allowed to use a friend captain that's used, you know, the glitched gems to pull characters, it's just a big mess. I've already talked about it on Twitter extensively, that I don't really want to be talking about the whole glitch like that much. I've already put out my video about it. It's happened. Bandai have said what they're going to be doing about it. It is what it is. Let's talk about the treasure map. So, obviously, turn 1, your specials will go ahead and get rewinded, or put forward, basically. We're going to go ahead and switch to Mancherry just for the better base captain. We can actually go ahead and switch this for a 2.5 chain lock. And let's go ham. Let's get as much damage as we can off on these characters. Of course, having Kaido means that we're not going to be doing as much damage here, because Kaido does not have a very good captain ability. His special ability is kind of good. He's an orb booster for our striker and driven characters, I believe. So, kind of nice to have that. Now, stage 2, again, it's pretty straightforward, just some regular mob characters. This stage seems to be the go-to stage that the Bandai people put for our global exclusive intrusion battles. Pretty sure every single time we have a global exclusive intrusion battle, it's always the same stage for stage 2. And then the stage after this, of course, will be the Kizaru boss fight. Now, Kizaru is relatively simple. He is a Psi enemy. He only has like 200,000 HP on navigation level 1, so he really does not gain much HP per nav level. And he also will change all of your orbs into block orbs. So this is where Shirahoshi Mancherry is very, very good, as you can go ahead and use their special ability to give you just a full board of matching slots, which is pretty good. And from this as well, we can just go ahead and use this for the color affinity. We can go ahead and use the Kaido special for the orb boost. We could go ahead and use this for the type boost, and well, that's pretty much it. So, without further ado, there we go. Pretty straightforward. Like, he really doesn't have that much health. I'm on navigation level 21, and look, he still does not have even 1,000,000 HP. So, yeah, you don't really have to worry about the Kizaru boss fight really that much. So, now we've done that, let's go ahead and continue on with the treasure map. So now we're going to go ahead and fight Kirby. Now, the team I am running against Kirby is by no means like the most optimal team to take him down, but it's just the team that I've been using, and it works very, very well. So the team that I am using is a double Sabo and Koala team. Now, the main component of this team that is the reason why we're just using this team basically is because of Raid Big Mom. Now, Raid Big Mom is not boosted on a Sabo and Koala team, but with their special ability of Raid Big Mom, we are able to just completely KO Kirby, and that's basically it. So I'll see you guys at the boss stage. So we just beat stage 6, moving on to the boss stage now against Kirby. Kirby does a multitude of different things. He has an HP barrier, but the HP barrier is very minuscule. It's only 12,000 HP you have to deal to him before you break his barrier. So the barrier is very much non-existent, but he does blind you for 19 turns, which is quite annoying, and he does give you some block orbs. However, some of the orbs that he gives you can also be matching orbs, but as I said, we're just going to be using Raid Big Mom and just using her special ability to completely KO Kirby. And even on the battle rush at the very end, if you don't encounter Kirby in the mid-map, he's still very, very easy to beat even with that, because even if that doesn't kill, we can use the special twice, and if that doesn't kill, we can then use Sabo and Koala special with another switch effect from the captain ability as well to get a color affinity and also a 2.25 times type boost. A pretty good captain ability, so really no problems with Kirby with that team specifically, but of course Raid Big Mom is the main carry for that team. So now we're going to be encountering GARP also in the mid-map. I would probably suggest to fight GARP in the mid-map. I do think that GARP is probably the most challenging of these mid-map bosses, and you guys will see why once we reach the final boss stage. Now, I know some people already told me, like, you can run, you know, Shirahoshi Mancherry on your final boss team to get more points. I understand that, but I just prefer to use this character against GARP because it does make the fight a lot easier. So once we get to the boss stage, we'll go ahead and discuss the brand new GARP boss. So now that we've just cleared stage 6, we move on to stage 7 against GARP. So this is the main component as to why GARP is quite annoying. So he despairs you for 6 turns. He also applies 5 turns of damage threshold to himself. And you can only use 2 specials per turn for 10 turns. So this is where Shirahoshi Mancherry comes in ridiculously clutch, because obviously with their very, very unique special ability, they are the only character in the game that is able to remove the special limited debuff. They can remove 10 turns of any 2 debuffs that apply to your team, and then from here we can basically spam the rest of our specials. If you don't have Shirahoshi Mancherry as your captain or your friend captain, then you will have to use specials prior to the GARP stage and carry them into this room. Like, if I didn't have Shirahoshi Mancherry set as my captain, I would have to use maybe Rob Lucci special before moving into this stage so that I could get an orb boost, because remember, you need a special that can remove the despair and the threshold that's applied to GARP and also to your team. So we're going to use Kirby. Kirby removes the despair, and then we're going to use the Colosseum Mole to remove his threshold, as well as give us the conditional boost, because Mancherry is actually a free spirit character as a captain. So after that, we basically were not allowed to use any other specials, but of course, because we had Shirahoshi Mancherry, we could remove the special limit debuff. So now we can activate a type boost, we can activate an orb boost with the Rob Lucci as well, and then at this point, it's pretty much GG. No problems whatsoever. Obviously, this is the mid-map boss. He has a lot less HP on the mid-map. So, you know, if you are struggling with GARP, make sure to take him down in the mid-map. He does do death damage upon clearing him as well, but the death damage really isn't that much, and most teams that you build are going to be able to tank that quite well. So now let's go ahead and move on to the final of these bosses, and then we'll move on to the Akainu and Fujitora boss fight. So now we've finally made it to the battle rush, and the final boss that we have to take on is Tsuru. Now, Tsuru is probably one of the easiest bosses to take on, especially if you have 6+ Nami. Now, Nami is a character that's been out for a relatively decent amount of time on Global, so I think a lot of players would have her, but even if you don't have her, as long as you have a friend captain 6+ Nami, your life is going to be very, very easy against the Tsuru boss fight, and you guys will see exactly why once we make it to stage 7. So the reason why 6+ Nami is very, very good for this boss fight is because Tsuru will paralyze you for 3 turns. And of course, Nami does have the special ability to not only give you color affinity and an orb boost, but she also removes 3 turns of burn and 3 turns of paralysis. So basically, she is built for this fight. Now, you can see that there are some surrounding mob characters around Tsuru that do have a barrier. And, I mean, the way that I'm getting around that is I'm using Luffy and Law. I'm going to switch to Law because he does damage through barriers that's AoE damage. So we can use his special ability to do lots of damage to the characters in the back. I think eventually, once you get to a high nav level, that will no longer kill. But it also gives us a higher orb boost than Nami's special. Now, of course, you don't need that. You can still clear it just by doing taps because these characters do not have that much HP. But after we do that, we can go ahead and use the Nami special to get rid of the paralysis as well as the orbs. We can actually go ahead and use Cracker if we really wanted to cut her health, as well as giving us guaranteed full board of slots. And we could also use the Sabo special to get the condition additional boost. Now, there is one thing that you have to note is do not use an attack boosting special on this stage because she will counter that. So do not use an attack boost. But at this point, it's a lot of damage. It's a lot of damage, and this will work pretty much for an infinite amount of time. I don't see a point where this will not work, basically. This team will work for a very, very long time. You did see that we used the Dex GARP from the Treasure Map Exchange, and as I said at the start of the video, I would recommend using him just on a team just because he is a higher point booster. He's a 1.35 point booster, so will help you out a lot. You can really put him on whatever team you want. You can put him on the final boss fight team if you wanted and use his special near the end of the boss stage to, you know, get the 4x captain, which is pretty good. But anyways, as we said, we're going to move on to Akainu and Fujitora. So the team that I'm using, of course, is Vivi and Rebecca. They are the most optimal captains from what I've seen so far. So Vivi and Rebecca are pretty strong. We're going to be using the Treasure Map Rare Recruit Doflamingo on the team as well. We do have Colosseum Jinbei here as well. Colosseum Jinbei is very, very useful. But there is actually something big that occurred with this boss fight that's actually different from Japan. Once we reach stage 5, once we reach stage 5, you guys will see exactly what I'm talking about. So now that we move on to stage 5, here we have the first of the mini-bosses. There's 2 mini-bosses, and then there's the final boss. So we've got Akainu. Now, the really big difference here is that Akainu on Global, for this boss fight, is a strength character. Even in my Treasure Map preparation video, I did mention that on JP, this boss was Dex. And for some reason, they changed the colors. So this boss is no longer a Dex character, he is a strength character. So I would suggest to put Colosseum Jinbei on your team for this fight. He's going to be pretty useful. But you can see that with his preemptive attack, you get 4 turns of reduced chain multiplier and a full board of Dex slots. So we're going to go ahead and switch to Rebecca to make our Dex slots beneficial for our Striker and Cerebral characters. Or they don't make them beneficial, but they change them into matching slots. And also give us a 2.5 times chain lock, which also counters the chain multiply limit that will be inflicted. So now we can go ahead and just attack. And because we do have the chain multiply, Jinbei is going to be hitting pretty hard, and there we go. Now we move on to stage 6. So stage 6 is the secondary mini-boss, which is Fujitora. This also is different from the Japanese boss fight, whereas on JP, this Fujitora was a Psy character, and now on Global, as you can see, is an int character. So that also does make a pretty big impact to people's team builds. I really don't understand why they did this, why they had to change the boss colors. It really does not make sense. And it means that the Treasure Map Rare Recruit characters are less viable, I would say, for this particular boss fight, which is just ridiculous. If they change the color of the Treasure Map Rare Recruits, that would make sense, but unfortunately, that is not the case. So I think this is definitely a screw up on Bandai Global's part for this one. They really should not have changed their colors. Either way, this team really does not have any troubles with it so far. So we're going to go ahead and use the Neptune, because Neptune will not only give us an orb boost that we can carry into the boss fight, but he also removes the attack down that is inflicted to our team on this Fujitora stage. So we can remove the 4 turns of attack down, and the 3-turn orb boost will be applied to our Cerebral characters. Then we can use our Jinbei special to remove his damage threshold that he applies. You can see that the Jinbei also gives us a chain boost, but we're going to be switching with Vivi and Rebecca, so it really doesn't matter. And then we're going to go ahead and use the Doflamingo special here, because he does provide a type boost to our strength and int characters, which will just give us a little bit of extra damage, because as you can see here, we don't have a single Psy character on our team. So we don't get any color advantage on this boss at all. So Vivi and Rebecca are definitely less viable without any of the type advantage units. So we're going to go ahead and switch. We're going to use their special ability to get just their buffed captain ability, and then we can just go ahead and attack. With all these specials active, we really shouldn't have any problems whatsoever clearing him, and this should last for a pretty long time as well. These bosses don't have a lot of HP. I think they start off at navigation level 1 with around 300,000 HP. So yeah, very, very simple. Now, this final boss fight on stage 7 is also different. He's also a strength character, which on JP, he was a Dex character. So again, don't really understand why they did that. It just makes the Treasure Map Rare Recruit characters less viable. Again, not really a big fan of it. But his preemptive attack, you can see there's 11 turns of Rainbow Shield, 11 turns of a Perfect Barrier. So we are going to go ahead and use first the Heracles special, which will give our Cerebral characters a 1.75 times attack boost, as well as allowing us to basically get a full board of matching slots, especially once we switch. We get a full board of matching slots for our team. We can get the extra color affinity boost, and also removing their Rainbow Shield that is applied with the Vivi and Rebecca special. And from here, we just have to hit our perfects, and because Jinbei is on our team to give us some type advantage, we get a lot of extra damage with this Jinbei. and Jinbei just does all the heavy lifting there. Over 10 million damage with just Jinbei's hit alone. And those are the teams that I've been using so far in this treasure map. Because of all the glitches that have been happening, a lot of people have characters that they shouldn't have, and they've been able to grind the treasure map a lot easier. And I mean, people have been summoning like crazy with these glitched, you know, gems and such. So people basically don't even need the legend at this point. Of course, we've seen what Bandai are going to be doing. They apparently are going to be revoking a lot of the stuff. So this treasure map, just all in all, is like a dead rubber in my personal opinion. It's completely dead. I really wouldn't worry about it too much in terms of ranking. I would suggest make sure you don't get relegated into the lower leagues. Try and stay in New World if you possibly can. But there we go. That's the full rundown of the treasure map of Kainu and Fujitora. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video today. And if you guys did enjoy it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I will see you guys within the next video.